Tractate Bava Batra, page 72, top of the page. We learned so far if someone sold two trees, the trees is not included the karka, the land itself. However, if someone sold the field and he left two trees aside for himself, even according to Rabbi Akiva, who said that the person usually use ayin yafa, meaning a generous way, here we said that the seller left for himself an estate. The question is, how you treated the situation like someone who consecrated something. This we learn it in the Mishnah in Nezikin, based on the Torah, that someone who inherited from his great-great-great-grandparents a property in Eretz Israel, unlike regular case when one have a consecrated tree or other matters of consecrated property can get a market value. Here it's a rule that follows the text of the Torah that it goes by a structure set up 49 years of payment. So mi matzit mukmat la Rabbi Shimon ke Rabbi Akiva, which is you follow the view of Rabbi Akiva that said that it usually the generous heart. V'atanya hekdish shlosha ilanot mimata asara lebet se'ah. Someone who consecrated 3 trees in a field where 10 trees are planted in an area required for sowing 1 se'ah of seed. So basically we said that harei hekdish et hakarka, which means part of the consecration, it's not only the trees but also the land. Et hakarka ve'et hailanot shebenehem. Rashbam said the small tree that was in between them. And he said, Lefichach shehu podeh, and therefore when he redeems them, he redeemed the land and everything contained within it. That's basically the way that we understand from this text in the Torah. And therefore, podeh beitzeh sera chomer sorim ב50 shekel kesef. He take a sowing of a core, which is of barley seed, and he get in those days 50 silver shekels. I would like to share with you the Rashbam. Rashbam said that in Chot Arachin v'Charamin, chapter 4, one who consecrates tree, they are redeemed according to the value. If he consecrated 3 trees that are planted within a Beit Se'ah, and he does not specify that he is consecrating only the tree, he has also consecrated the land and the trees between them. If the trees were planted more or less densely, or if he consecrated them separately, one after the other, neither the land nor the trees between them are consecrated. If one first consecrated the trees and only afterward consecrated the land, he redeems the trees according to the value, and he redeems the land according to the calculation of 1 selah and 1 pandion per year for every parcel of land in which homer of barley seed can be sown. So that's basically the Kesef Mishnah and the Lechem Mishnah explained this Rashbam. And the Gemara continues and said, pachot, if it's less than this amount, pachot mikan o yoter al ken. So if it's less or more, by the way, we explained several days ago that it's all derivative from the story of Avraham and Ephron in Bereshit Kav Gimel. פחות מכאן או יותר על כן, או שהקדישן בזה אחר זה, if it was in a consecrated, in a consequent order, which means if he consecrated each of the trees separately, one after the other, the person has consecrated neither the land nor the young trees between them. לא את הקרקע ולא את האילנות שביניהם, as we see young trees, the Rashbam's view. לפיכך כשהוא פודה את האילנות בשוויהם, ולא עוד אלא אפילו הקדיש את האילנות וחזר והקדיש את הקרקע, if when he consecrated the trees and then he follow up and consecrated the land, כשהוא פודה, when he redeems, פודה את האילנות בשוויהם, so basically he redeem the trees separately according to the value, the amount that they're worth. וחוזר ופודה בית זרע חומר שעורים ב50 שקל כסף, and you go back and you take the value that were an area feet for sowing a homer of barley seeds is redeemed for 50 silver shekels. So even at the time of the Pidyon, both the trees and the land belongs to the Hekdesh. We take it, as the Rashbam said, as a two separate Hekdeshot. The Rashbam elaborated and said, Ekdisha Ilanot, when he consecrated those trees, כשהן נטועים שלא כסדרן, that it was not in the regular order, או שהקדישן בזה אחר זה, that he consecrated them one after the others, and then he come back and he consecrated the land. The question is, if you מדייק in the way of the Rashbam, so it should be ולא עוד, אלא אפילו חזר והקדיש את הקרקע. He should say that it ולא עוד, אלא אפילו, that even though. So the Rashash explains that even one consecrated the trees בבת אחת, all together, כיוון שחזר והקדיש את הקרקע בפירוש, since he went back and consecrated the land, in a sense of said it very lucidly, clearly, so he גילה בדעתו, he basically retroactively expressed in his mind that שמתחילה לא נתכוון להקדיש אלא התליינות לבדם, that he originally intended to consecrate the trees, only the trees by themselves, so therefore פודה אותם בשוויהם, therefore he gets their value according to their value. But the Rashash bring example from the Gemarrah in Shvuot, page 23, so those who have the time, please go and visit the Rashash here on this Sugiyah. So the Gemara asks Mani, to whom this Braita said that if someone consecrated less than 3 trees together, he did not consecrate the land with them. Rabbi Akiva, if you tell me that, that's follow Rabbi Akiva, Hamar mocher bain yafa mocher v'chol sheken magdish. Rabbi Akiva said that if one is sell generously, and for sure if he does a consecration, it has to be bain yafa, in a good generous heart. So it means you cannot follow this Braita according to view of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbanan, if you go by the sages ha'amri mocher ud bain ra mocher al magdish bain yafa magdish, that if it's a sale is different than a consecration. The sale, I agree with you that it's going by in Raha, he is under pressure, he's selling it. But when they come to a consecrated item, the person does it with a generous heart. So you cannot go neither by Rabbi Akiva nor by the sages. Obviously you have to say that these follow Rabbi Shimon, the view of Rabbi Shimon that said that if one consecrated, he does it with Ayin Ra'ah, and is not included in the Hekdesh other items, for example, peat, wine press, and things like that. And therefore, the Braita continues and said any estate that it's independent, it's not part of that Hekdesh. But even if someone consecrated less than 3 young trees, he is not consecrated their estate together with them. Why? Because again, that's the view of Rabbi Shimon, that's Ayin Ra'ah. Rabbi Shimon, according to whom of his teachers he followed, so he cannot be Rabbi Akiva because it's a generous heart. That say that he's Ayin Ra'ah. Because Rabbi Shimon, so it reminds me of a story of some people who gives to shuls. I'm in the shul business more than 20 years. Some people does with generous heart, but others, unfortunately, often just giving whatever leftover painting, leftover carpets, leftover things, hevel and kinds. That's the big difference. But anyway, that's the view here of the Rabbi Shimon, who meshayer ar'a, when person consecrated less than 3 trees, he leave the estate, the karka, that the trees are. That's the practical part. The Rashbam did not have this view. 72b velakashya. So before you ask the question from Rabbi Shimon Ravuna, you can ask contradiction within the word of Rabbi Shimon. Hoil v'yonkin misdeh magdesh. Why? Because what we said, that we originally said in the Mishnah that if someone who consecrated the field, So he consecrated the carob tree and also sycamore trunk. And what we said in the Braita, because the nourished from the consecrated field, that it means that one who consecrated acts generously and does not retain the land around the trees for himself. So that's Sira. So they said, Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan Kamulu, Ledi Dikeh the Mocher Bain Ra, Mocher Magdish, Nami Bain Ra Magdish, both of them, seller and the consecrated, both use Ayin Ra, Shayur Mishayer, the Didchu, so he leave for himself the place that the carob tree have its source of nourishment, the same as a sycamore trunk, and he doesn't make it as a part of Hekdesh because they have Yenika, they have the source of living from the Hekdesh, from the field that is consecrated. לדידחו הודו לי מיד ולא הקדיש לחרוב המורכב וסדן השקמה, פעם לרבנן לא שנה, ומה הוא קימתלה? כרבי שמעון, אימה סייפה, you go by the last clause of the Braita, they said, ולא עוד אלא אפילו הקדיש את האילנות. Even a person consecrated the trees without consecrating the land, even he did it in a consequent order, one after the other, and then in between the land he come back and consecrated it. When he redeemed it, he get a full price, market price for those trees, and he go back and redeem, get the value of the land according to this Sdei Achuzah that's based on the Torah, as we said in Mishnah Narkin, and the value of Sdei Achuzah is 49 pondion, 49 years. That's basically the 49 years, but you cannot have pidyon ilanot agav karka. Why? Because the time they consecrated was without the land, so therefore they need to get their market value. Ve'i Rabbi Shimon leize badar pidyon venifriku agav arayu. Because we already heard that Rabbi Shimon follows the time of the redemption, which means he determines the price at which a field is redeemed based on the time it has been redeemed at Naan. If someone left over from his late father a field, and during the lifetime of his father, he consecrated it. So, and then the father is no longer among the living. So, how do you know that he needs to redeem it in the 5 shkalim and not the full price? Talmud lomar ve'im mitzdeh miknato asher lo mizdeh achuzah. The Torah said clearly ve'im mitzdeh miknato, that it means and if he sanctifies to God a field that he has brought, which is not of his ancestral fields. So it means what they said here, Sadesh and Realiyot Sdei Achuzah. It says Realiyot Sdei Achuzah Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon. So it is only whatever is befitting to be ancestral field. So since eventually it will become his through inheritance, even had he not purchased it. So that's basically Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon saw that that's the value, only 5. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon. So even he consecrated, then his father passed away, so it's considering, some said, some not, the Habes de Achuzah. If you go by the Yitur, by the superfluous part of the Pasuk, you have to say that you go follow the time of redemption, which means the time of redemption the father is dead, and the field is the son's ancestral field that is currently in the possession of the temple treasury. אמר רב נחמן בר יצחק לעולם בעלמא דרבי יהודה ורבי שמעון לא יסגילה בתר פדיון והאח הקרא אשכחו ודרוש. So אם כן לכתוב קרא ואם משדה מקנתו אשר לא אחוזתו, אינה משדה אחוזתו, מה אשר לא משדה אחוזתו? Why you need to say the pasuk which is not his ancestral field? עת שאינה ראויה להיות שדה אחוזתו, אז זו שראויה להיות שדה אחוזתו. So it means that you go by the one that is fitting to be his ancestral field. So what you see here, that one who consecrated trees can be understood to be follow the view of Rabbi Shimon. Remember we talked about carob, that it's valuable because it's grafted, and sadan and sycamore trunk have both the status of a tree and the status of a land. תורת אילן עליו, תורת קרקע עליו, תורת אילן עליו, דרך הדהקדיש, עוז בין שני לא דווי יש לו קרקע, תורת קרקע עליו, דלה מזדמן הגר ברגע, because you don't sow it along the land, because that's what we said in Mishnah, that one who sells a field has not sold the grafted charuv or a sycamore trunk within the field. זה חשיבות לעצמו, independent importance. ואמר רבונה אומר שיש בו שעתיים, תורת אומר עליו ותורת גדיש עליו. So you have both the status of sheaf and the status of heap. Regarding to halachot of a shichecha, forgotten sheaves that must be left for the poor. Torah אומר עליו, the שני אומרים shichecha. We have the status of sheaves because we learn that left the sheaf, the forgotten sheaves that is left over and you give it to the poor people, as we learn in the book of Ruth, if you remember. שניים והוא אינן shichecha. But if they have two sheaves and also this sheaf that contains two seah, so the three together are three sheaves and are not considered forgotten sheaves that must be left for the poor. תורת גדיש עליו דתנן. Here is status of heap, because we learn in Braita, עומר שיש בו שעתיים, a sheaf that contains two seah, שכחו אין שכחה. If one forgets it, in the field is not considered forgotten sheaf that must be left for the poor, because its size and importance grant the status of a heap rather than the sheaf. אמר רבא בר חנא, אמר ריש לקיש, חרוב המורכב וסדן השקמה, if they are consecrated as part of the field, באנו למחלוקת רבי מנחם בר יוסי ורבנן. We entered domain of the disputation between רבי מנחם בר יוסי and רבנן. רבי מנחם בר יוסי hold that is not consecrated. The sages say that he is part of the consecration of the field. And then we said, page 73, ולמה מחלוקת רבי שמעון ורבנן. So maybe we said that the dispute between Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish and the sages, it was concluded previously that according to Rabbi Shimon himself, even the charub and sikrum trees are not consecrated. So maybe they have the same view together, the Rabbi Nachem, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Svir alei. So it's mainly that one who consecrated is Ayin Ra'ah who consecrated. So the Rashash and the Rashbam said that regardless you derive it from the Braita, המדרן הלך המוכר את הבית.